First contact. Ambassador Xylix of the Galactic Confederation smoothed his iridescent scales as the diplomatic vessel Astral Envoy prepared to drop out of hyperdrive. His tentacles twitched with a mix of excitement and apprehension. After 3 millennia of silence, the fabled cradle of humanity was about to re-enter the galactic stage. Ambassador, we're approaching the Sol system. The pilot, a cybernetically enhanced Valorian, announced. Exiting hyperdrive in 3, 2, 1. The swirling vortex of faster-than-light travel collapsed, revealing a star field that shimmered into focus. Xylix leaned forward, eager for his first glimpse of the legendary homeworld of humanity. His compound eyes widened in confusion. That can't be right, he muttered. Pilot, are you certain these are the correct coordinates? The Valorian's metallic fingers danced over the holographic controls. Affirmative, Ambassador. This is the Sol system, and that, he pointed at a gleaming orb ahead, is Earth. But it wasn't the Earth that Xylix had studied in the historical archives. Gone were the vast blue oceans and swirling white clouds. Instead, the planet before them shimmered like a colossal opal, its entire surface covered in an intricate lattice of lights and structures that extended far into the atmosphere. By the cosmic egg, Xylix breathed, using an oath so old its origin had been lost to time. They'd built a planetary megastructure. As the Astral Envoy approached, they were hailed by Earth's orbital control. The communication came not in any of the standard galactic languages, but in perfect High Confederation speech, a dialect usually reserved for the most elite circles of governance. Greetings, Ambassador Xylix, a melodious voice echoed through the ship's speakers. Earth welcomes you. Please proceed to the following coordinates for docking. Xylix exchanged bewildered glances with his aides. How did they know his name? And how had they mastered high speech? As they descended through the upper atmosphere, the true scale of Earth's transformation became apparent. Massive arcologies stretched into the sky, their gleaming surfaces adorned with lush hanging gardens. Vehicles that seemed to defy gravity zipped between the structures in orderly streams. The air itself sparkled with countless microscopic machines, maintaining the perfect climate and filtering out any pollutants. The Astral Envoy was guided to a vast floating platform that served as a spaceport. As Xylix and his entourage disembarked, they were greeted by a delegation of humans, led by a tall, serene-looking woman with silver hair and eyes that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Welcome to Earth, Ambassador Xylix, she said, her voice the same one they had heard earlier. I am Dr. Ilara Vance, Earth's chief diplomat. We've been looking forward to your arrival. Xylix bowed deeply, trying to mask his shock. Honored Dr. Vance, I bring greetings from the Galactic Confederation Council. We are overwhelmed by the welcome we've received. Dr. Vance smiled warmly. We are well aware of the current state of the Confederation, Ambassador. Please, follow me. We have much to discuss. As they walked through the spaceport, Xylix couldn't help but marvel at the technology on display. Holographic interfaces flickered in and out of existence at the merest gesture. Robots of designs he had never seen before glided silently alongside humans, seemingly engaged in casual conversation. I must admit, Dr. Vance, Xylix said, struggling to maintain his diplomatic composure, Earth has changed somewhat since our last contact. Dr. Vance chuckled. You could say that, Ambassador. 3,000 years is a long time, even by galactic standards. We've been busy. They entered a gravity tube that whisked them to the top of a nearby arcology. The conference room they entered offered a breathtaking view of the planet-wide city. As they sat down, Dr. Vance waved her hand, and a holographic display sprang to life in the center of the table. It showed a detailed map of the galaxy, with the Confederation's territory clearly marked. Now then, Ambassador, Dr. Vance said, her tone becoming more businesslike, let's discuss Earth's potential relationship with the Galactic Confederation. Xylix's tentacles curled in surprise. You wish to join the Confederation? Not exactly, Dr. Vance replied, a enigmatic smile playing on her lips. Isolation has served its purpose, but it's time for humanity to rejoin the galactic community. However, her eyes glinted with an intelligence that made Xylix's exoskeleton tingle. We will be doing so on our own terms. Over the next few hours, Dr. Vance outlined Earth's proposals. They wanted to establish a unique partnership with the Confederation, one that would grant them access to galactic markets and cultural exchanges, but would also preserve their independence. Most shockingly, they insisted on maintaining their own independent exploration and defense forces. Surely you understand, Dr. Vance. Xylix sputtered. These terms are unprecedented. No world in the Confederation maintains its own military forces. It goes against every treaty and— Ambassador, Dr. Vance interrupted gently. I don't think you quite grasped the situation. Allow me to demonstrate something. She closed her eyes for a moment. Suddenly, Xylix felt a presence in his mind. Warm, vast, and utterly alien. What you're experiencing now, Dr. Vance said, her eyes still closed, is a fraction of humanity's collective consciousness. Over the past 3 millennia, we've transcended mere verbal or technological communication. Every human on Earth, and throughout our colonies in the solar system, is connected on a fundamental quantum level. Xylix's mind reeled. This was beyond anything in the Confederation's experience. Colonies, he managed to ask. Dr. Vance opened her eyes and smiled. Oh yes, we've terraformed and settled every planet and major moon in our system. Mars, Venus, Europa, Titan, all now support thriving human populations. The implications were staggering. If what Dr. Vance said was true, humanity's population and resources dwarf those of many Confederation sectors combined. I will need to consult with the Confederation Council, Xylix said weakly. Of course, Dr. Vance nodded. Take all the time you need. In the meantime, would you like a tour of some of our facilities? I'm sure you're curious about our technological advancements. As they stood to leave the conference room, Dr. Vance added casually, Oh, and Ambassador, we're holding a little demonstration in a few days, an unveiling, you might say, of some of our more impressive achievements. We'd be honored if you and your team would attend. Xylix nodded, his mind still struggling to process everything he had learned. As he followed Dr. Vance out of the room, he couldn't shake the feeling that the arrival of his modest diplomatic vessel might just be remembered as the most significant event in Confederation history. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted, and nothing would ever be the same again. The true nature of humanity's impressive achievements remained to be seen, but Xylix had a feeling that the upcoming demonstration would redefine the very concept of advanced civilization for the entire galaxy. The journey. The astral envoy hung in high orbit above Earth, its iridescent hull reflecting the kaleidoscope of lights from the planet below. Inside, Ambassador Xylix paced the length of his quarters, his 4 arms clasped behind his back, tentacles twitching with nervous energy. It had been 3 days since their arrival, and each moment since had brought new wonders and fresh shocks. The Confederation diplomatic team had been given a whirlwind tour of Earth's surface facilities, each more mind-bending than the last. They had seen quantum computers that could simulate entire universes, medical facilities that could regrow limbs in hours, and energy production systems that harnessed the power of artificial singularities. But it was the casual demonstration of technologies long thought impossible that truly unsettled Xylix. Teleportation, manipulation of gravity, even limited forms of precognition. Humanity wielded these abilities as casually as the Confederation used comlinks. A chime at his door interrupted Xylix's ruminations. Enter, he called out. The door slid open to reveal Dr. Ilara Vance, Earth's chief diplomat. As always, she exuded an aura of serene confidence that both reassured and unsettled Xylix. Good morning, Ambassador, she said with a warm smile. I hope I'm not interrupting. Xylix composed himself, smoothing his scales. Not at all, Dr. Vance. How may I assist you? Actually, Ilara replied, her eyes twinkling with an excitement that made Xylix's exoskeleton tingle. I'm here to invite you on a little excursion. We thought you might appreciate a first-hand look at some of our off-world colonies before the main demonstration. Xylix's compound eyes widened. Off-world colonies? You mean a tour of our solar system? Ilara finished for him. Nothing too extensive. Just a quick jaunt to Mars, the Jovian moons, and perhaps a peek at our Kuiper Belt operations. We'll have you back in plenty of time for the main event. Xylix's mind reeled at the casual way she proposed crossing billions of kilometers. In the Confederation, such a journey would take weeks, even with the fastest ships. And how long would this quick jaunt take, Dr. Vance? Ilara checked a holographic display that shimmered into existence above her wrist. Oh, accounting for time at each stop. Shall we say 6 hours? 6 hours. To cross the entire solar system and back. Xylix felt his knees weaken slightly. I see, he managed. And our mode of transportation? Ilara's smile widened. Oh, I think you'll find it quite interesting. Shall we say departure in 1 hour? Feel free to bring any of your team you'd like. An hour later, Xylix found himself standing in a vast, circular chamber deep within one of Earth's orbital stations. He was accompanied by his chief science officer, a spindly Algorian named Vex, and his cultural attaché, an empathic Luminian called Zara. Dr. Vance stood nearby, along with a small team of human scientists and what appeared to be their AI assistants. Welcome to the Nexus, Ilara announced. This is the hub of our solar transportation network. Vex's antennae quivered with excitement. Fascinating. Some form of teleportation network, perhaps, or a series of stabilized wormholes. One of the human scientists, a young man with glowing circuitry visible just beneath his skin, chuckled. Close, but not quite. We call it the probability drive. Perhaps it's easier to show you. He gestured, and the floor beneath their feet became transparent. Xylix gasped. Below them, stretching as far as the eye could see, was a vast machine. Countless crystalline structures pulsed with energy, forming ever-shifting patterns that hurt the eyes to look at directly. The probability drive, Ilara explained, doesn't move us through space in the conventional sense. Instead, it shifts probability itself, making it overwhelmingly likely that we will simply be at our destination. Zara, the Luminian, spoke up, her voice tinged with awe and a hint of fear. You're manipulating the fundamental laws of reality. In a manner of speaking, Ilara nodded. Don't worry, it's perfectly safe. We've been using this technology for over 1,000 years. Before Xylix could fully process the implications of this, the human scientist called out, "We're ready to depart. First stop, Mars. Everyone ready?" Xylix wanted to protest that no, he most certainly was not ready, but before he could speak, there was a subtle shift in the air. A sensation of movement without moving, a blink that lasted an eternity and no time at all. And then, through the transparent floor, Xylix saw the red surface of Mars rushing up to meet them. The next 6 hours were a blur of wonders and impossibilities. They walked the lush, terraformed surface of Mars, where towering cities of crystal and light housed billions of humans. They visited the underwater civilizations of Europa, where genetically modified humans swam alongside creatures that defied description. In the swirling storms of Jupiter's upper atmosphere, they saw vast, living ships that served as both habitats and research stations. Each stop brought new marvels. On Titan, they witnessed quantum forges that could create any element or compound on demand. In the Kuiper Belt, they saw automated mining operations that harvested resources from comets and asteroids with ruthless efficiency. But it was their final stop that truly drove home the scale of humanity's achievement. As they materialized in an observation dome, at the very edge of the solar system, Xylix found himself face to face with a structure that dwarfed anything he had ever seen. A vast, gleaming sphere surrounded the sun, capturing nearly all of its energy output. Countless ships and stations swarmed around it like insects around a globe of light. "The Dyson Swarm," Ilara said quietly, watching the awe on the faces of her guests. "The culmination of 1,000 years of work. It provides power for our entire civilization and serves as the backbone of our computational network." Zilix stared at the megastructure, his mind struggling to comprehend its scale. In that moment, he understood with perfect clarity that the Galactic Confederation was utterly, hopelessly outmatched. Humanity hadn't just caught up during their isolation. They had leaped so far ahead that the gap might never be closed. As they prepared to return to Earth, Zilix found his voice at last. "Dr. Vance," he said, his tone formal but tinged with a newfound respect and not a little fear, "I believe I speak for my entire team when I say that we are profoundly impacted by what we have seen. I must ask, with all due respect, why are you showing us this? Surely you must realize the effect this will have on the Confederation." Ilara's expression turned serious. "Because, Ambassador, what you've seen today is only the beginning. The demonstration we have planned. Well, let's just say it will redefine humanity's place in the cosmos. We wanted you to have some context for what's to come." As the probability drive activated once more, sending them hurtling back to Earth, Zilix felt a shiver run through his entire being. Whatever humanity had in store, he realized, it would change the fate of the galaxy forever. And he, a simple diplomat from a civilization that suddenly seemed quaint and primitive, would be there to witness it all. The astral envoy and its stunned crew had less than 24 hours to prepare for a revelation that would shake the very foundations of their understanding of the universe. As they approached Earth once more, the gleaming jewel that had once been the cradle of humanity now seemed to pulse with an energy that was at once thrilling and terrifying. The stage was set. The galaxy held its breath, and humanity prepared to unveil the true extent of their power. The revelation. The grand amphitheater hung in Earth's orbit, a colossal structure of crystalline material that seemed to shift and shimmer with every passing moment. Inside, representatives from every corner of the Galactic Confederation had gathered, their varied forms a testament to the diversity of life in the cosmos. The air thrummed with tension and anticipation. Ambassador Zilix sat in the front row, his 4 arms folded tightly across his chest. To his left, Vex the Algorian scientist was practically vibrating with excitement, while Zara the Luminian empath sat in serene meditation, her aura pulsing with the collective emotions of the gathering. "I still can't believe the turnout," Vex whispered, his antennae twitching. "Half the Confederation must be here." Zilix nodded grimly. Word of humanity's advancements had spread like wildfire through the galaxy. What had started as a simple diplomatic mission had turned into the most significant event in Confederation history. Every major power had scrambled to send representatives, not wanting to be left behind in what was surely to be a paradigm shift in galactic politics. A hush fell over the crowd as Dr. Ilara Vance stepped onto the central platform. She looked radiant, her silver hair shimmering under the ambient light, her eyes gleaming with an inner fire. "Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Confederation," her voice rang out, amplified not by technology, but by some innate power that resonated in the very bones of her audience. "We thank you for joining us on this historic day. For 3 millennia, humanity has walked a solitary path among the stars. Today, we rejoin our galactic family, and we do so bearing gifts beyond imagination." The air above the platform shimmered, and a holographic display of unparalleled clarity sprang to life. It showed the Milky Way galaxy in all its spiraling glory. "As you've seen," Ilara continued, "humanity has mastered our own solar system. We've reshaped planets, harnessed the power of our sun, and bent the laws of physics to our will. But that was just the beginning." The galactic image zoomed in, focusing on a particular arm of the spiral. Thousands of stars lit up in vibrant colors. "Over the past 1,000 years, we've been busy," Ilara said, a hint of pride in her voice. These highlighted systems represent our extrasolar colonies and outposts, each one a thriving civilization in its own right, connected instantaneously through our quantum network. A collective gasp went up from the audience. The territory humanity claimed dwarfed many of the Confederation's largest members. But it's not the size of our civilization that we wish to showcase today, Ilara continued. Rather, it's the fundamental advancements we've made in our understanding of the universe. Advancements we're prepared to share with the Confederation. With a gesture, she brought forth a series of complex equations and diagrams. Xylix heard Vex inhale sharply beside him. Impossible, the Algorian scientist muttered. They've unified quantum mechanics and general relativity. And is that a complete model of dark energy? Ilara smiled, as if hearing the whispered comments. What you're seeing is the culmination of 1,000 years of theoretical and practical physics. We call it the unified field theory. It allows us not just to understand the fundamental forces of the universe, but to manipulate them at will. The holographic display shifted again, showing a strange, almost organic-looking device. This is the Cosmos Engine, Ilara explained, a practical application of our unified field theory. With it, we can reshape reality itself. Observe. The image zoomed out, showing the device nestled within a massive starship. As the assembled dignitaries watched in awe, the ship seemed to ripple and distort. Suddenly, it vanished, only to reappear instantaneously on the other side of the galaxy. Directed quantum tunneling on a macroscopic scale, Ilara said casually, as if she hadn't just demonstrated something that shattered the known laws of physics. Distance is now meaningless to us. We can traverse the entire galaxy in the blink of an eye. But she wasn't done. The display shifted again, showing a barren, lifeless planet. Watch closely, Ilara instructed. The Cosmos Engine activated once more. Waves of energy pulsed across the planet's surface. Before the astonished eyes of the Confederation representatives, oceans formed, continents shifted, and an atmosphere coalesced. In a matter of minutes, the dead world had been transformed into a lush, life-bearing paradise. Terraforming used to take us centuries, Ilara said. Now we can create habitable worlds in days. But even this pales in comparison to our greatest achievement. The holographic display expanded, encompassing the entire amphitheater. Suddenly, the assembled dignitaries found themselves floating in a perfect representation of intergalactic space. For too long, we've been confined to our galaxy. Ilara's voice resonated through the void. The vast gulfs between galaxies seemed an insurmountable barrier. No longer. A massive structure faded into view. It dwarfed stars, its size beyond comprehension. It was a vast web of energy and matter, stretching between galaxies like the synapses of a cosmic brain. The intergalactic nexus, Ilara announced, a network of wormholes and quantum tunnels, connecting not just stars or planets, but entire galaxies. With this, the entire universe becomes our playground. The display faded, leaving the audience in stunned silence. Xylix felt his mind reeling, trying to grasp the implications of what he'd just seen. Humanity hadn't just surpassed the Confederation. They'd ascended to a level of existence that bordered on the divine. Ilara's voice softened, becoming almost gentle. We understand that what we've shown you today is overwhelming. You may be feeling fear, awe, perhaps even anger. Know that we share these revelations not to intimidate, but to inspire. Humanity stands ready to guide the Galactic Confederation into a new era of exploration and discovery. She paused, her gaze sweeping across the assembly. But make no mistake, we also stand ready to defend ourselves and our way of life. Any attempt to restrict our freedom or hinder our progress will be met with consequences. The unspoken threat hung in the air, made all the more potent by the casual display of power they had just witnessed. We invite the Confederation to join us in this new age of wonders, Ilara concluded. Together, we can unlock the full potential of our universe. The choice, as always, is yours. As the lights came up and the assembled dignitaries broke into a cacophony of excited and fearful discussions, Xylix sat in stunned silence. The galaxy as he knew it had ended today. What would rise in its place remained to be seen. He turned to his companions. Vex was furiously scribbling notes, his scientific mind already racing with the possibilities presented. Zara, however, met Xylix's gaze with understanding. "You feel it too, don't you?" the empath asked softly. Xylix nodded. Beyond the awe and fear, there was something else. A sense of anticipation, as if the universe itself was holding its breath, waiting to see what humanity would do next. As the Confederation delegates filed out of the amphitheater, each lost in their own thoughts, Xylix couldn't shake the feeling that they had just witnessed the dawn of a new cosmic order. Humanity had returned to the galactic stage not as prodigal children, but as unfathomable beings wielding the power of creation itself. The true test, Xylix realized, was yet to come. How would the Confederation respond to this paradigm shift? And more importantly, what did humanity truly intend to do with their godlike abilities? As the astral envoy prepared for its journey home, carrying news that would shake the foundations of Confederation society, Xylix steeled himself for the challenges ahead. The galaxy was changing, and he was one of the few who truly understood the scale of what was to come. The revelation was complete. Now, the real work would begin. Negotiations and tensions. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Confederation buzzed with a nervous energy unlike anything in its 10,000-year history. Representatives from 1,000 worlds filled the tiered seats, their diversity a testament to the vastness of the galaxy. But today, all eyes were fixed on a single point, the central podium where Ambassador Xylix stood, preparing to deliver his report on humanity's return. Xylix's exoskeleton itched with nervous energy as he gazed out at the assembled dignitaries. How could he possibly convey the magnitude of what he had witnessed? The words seemed to stick in his throat glands. "Esteemed members of the Confederation," he began, his voice amplified throughout the cavernous chamber. 3 standard months ago, I embarked on what I believed would be a routine diplomatic mission to a long-lost colony of humans. Today, I stand before you to report that nothing could have prepared us for what we found. Over the next 2 hours, Xylix recounted everything. The transformed Earth, the solar system teeming with life, the casual manipulation of fundamental forces, and finally the revelation of humanity's intergalactic ambitions. As he spoke, he saw disbelief turn to awe, and then, inevitably, to fear. In conclusion, Xylix said, his voice heavy with the weight of his words, "We must face a difficult truth. Humanity has not merely caught up to us during their isolation. They have surpassed us in ways we can scarcely comprehend. The balance of power in our galaxy, indeed, in our entire local group of galaxies, has irrevocably shifted." A cacophony of voices erupted as soon as Xylix finished speaking. The assembly hall descended into chaos, with representatives shouting questions, demands, and accusations. It took the Supreme Arbiter, a gaseous being from the Vorlon sector, nearly an hour to restore order. "We will now hear proposals for our official response," the Arbiter's translated voice boomed. Carax, the militant representative of the Silicon Consensus, was the first to speak. "The course is clear," he grated, his crystalline form glittering under the hall's lights. "We must mobilize immediately. Humanity represents an existential threat to the Confederation and must be contained before they can expand further." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the hall, but they were quickly countered by Aelana, the serene ambassador of the Luminian Concord. Containment, against a civilization that can reshape planets and cross galaxies at will. Such an action would be worse than futile. It would be suicidal. "So we do nothing," Carax shot back. "Allow them to dominate us." "Not nothing." A new voice cut through the debate. All eyes turned to Genva, the elder statesman of the Algorian Science Directorate. "We adapt. We learn. Humanity has offered to share their knowledge. I propose we accept, but cautiously. We form a joint commission to study and gradually disseminate their technologies. The debate raged for days. Factions formed and dissolved as the full implications of humanity's return became clear. Some pushed for immediate alliance, seeing an opportunity to leap forward. Others advocated for isolation, hoping to insulate their worlds from the chaos that would surely follow. A vocal minority even suggested a preemptive strike, a last desperate attempt to level the playing field. Through it all, Xylix found himself serving as a voice of caution and reason. We must remember, he reminded the assembly repeatedly, that humanity has shown no overt aggression. They have expressed a desire for peaceful coexistence, but they have also demonstrated the power to enforce that peace on their own terms. As the debate entered its second week, a new complication arose. Reports began flooding in from the outer sectors of the Confederation. Strange phenomena were occurring on dozens of worlds. Gravitational anomalies, temporal distortions, even small-scale climate changes. All bore the hallmarks of human technology. Xylix was summoned to an emergency session of the Security Council. As he entered the secure chamber, he found the highest-ranking members of the Confederation's military and scientific establishments in a state of barely controlled panic. "They're already here," General Vrock of the Unified Defense Force growled, his tentacles writhing in agitation. "Observation posts, research stations, maybe even full-scale colonies. They've ceded our territory without our knowledge." "We don't know that for certain," Genva countered, but even the usually unflappable Algorian sounded shaken. "These could be natural phenomena we simply lack the understanding to explain." Regardless of the cause, Xylix interjected, "We need to formulate a response. Quickly." The decision was made to send a high-level delegation to Earth, not just to negotiate, but to demand answers. Xylix found himself once again aboard the Astral Envoy, this time accompanied by a team of the Confederation's most brilliant scientists and seasoned diplomats. As they approached the Sol system, Xylix felt a sense of déjà vu. But where once he had marveled at the transformed Earth, now he felt a creeping unease. The planet seemed to pulse with an even greater energy than before, as if it was barely containing some vast power within its crystalline shell. They were met not by Dr. Vance, but by a delegation of what appeared to be ordinary humans. Yet Xylix could sense something different about them, an otherworldly quality that set his nerves on edge. "Welcome back to Earth, Ambassador Xylix," the lead human said, his voice resonating with hidden depths. "We've been expecting you." "You have." Xylix couldn't keep the surprise from his voice. The human smiled enigmatically. "Of course. We've been monitoring the Confederation's deliberations. We understand you have concerns." Xylix felt a chill run down his exoskeleton. They had been watching. Of course they had. He gathered his courage and spoke the words that might determine the fate of the galaxy. "Humanity," he said formally, "on behalf of the Galactic Confederation, we come seeking answers and assurances. Your actions have sown fear and discord throughout our society. We must know your true intentions." The human smile never wavered. "Intentions? My dear Ambassador, we intend nothing less than the total transformation of our local group of galaxies. The only question is whether the Confederation will be our partners in this great endeavor, or simply observers." As Xylix and his team were led into a vast, impossible structure that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into the lair of beings who had transcended the very concept of civilization as the Confederation understood it. The negotiations that would shape the future of multiple galaxies were about to begin. And Xylix, a simple diplomat from a civilization that now seemed quaint and primitive, found himself at the center of it all. As they passed through shimmering corridors that defied Euclidean geometry, Xylix steeled himself for what was to come. The fate of the Confederation, perhaps of all sentient life as they knew it, would hinge on the outcome of these talks. And somewhere, in the vast reaches of intergalactic space, the cosmos engines hummed with untold power, reshaping reality itself to humanity's inscrutable will. A new era dawns. The negotiation chamber defied description. It seemed to exist in multiple planes of reality simultaneously, its walls shifting and pulsing with ethereal energies. Ambassador Zolix and his team sat across from the human delegation, their minds struggling to process their surroundings. Dr. Ilara Vance sat at the center of the human group, her serene presence a stark contrast to the barely contained panic of the Confederation representatives. Xylix couldn't shake the feeling that she was more than she appeared, perhaps not even entirely human anymore. "Let us begin," Ilara said, her voice resonating on multiple levels of consciousness. "You have questions. We have answers. But first, allow us to show you something." With a gesture, she transformed the chamber into a vast cosmic tableau. The assembled delegates found themselves floating in the void, surrounded by galaxies. "This is our local group as it exists now," Ilara explained. The view zoomed in, showing dying stars, colliding galaxies, areas of empty space. And this, she continued, is what it could become. The scene shifted. Barren worlds burst into life. Dying stars were rejuvenated. The very structure of space-time seemed to ripple and reform, creating stable wormholes between galaxies. It was a vision of cosmic engineering on a scale that beggared belief. "This is the great work," Ilara said softly. "The reshaping of our cosmic neighborhood into a garden of life and consciousness. This is what humanity has been preparing for over the last 3,000 years. Xylix found his voice at last. "But why? To what end?" Ilara's eyes seemed to peer into the depths of Xylix's soul. "To forestall the heat death of the universe," she said simply. "To create a pocket of negative entropy that can sustain life and consciousness indefinitely. To ensure that intelligence, in all its wondrous forms, has a chance to flourish for trillions of years to come." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. It was Genva, the Algorian scientist, who spoke next. "You're talking about rewriting the fundamental laws of physics," he said, his voice a mixture of awe and terror. "The energy requirements alone would be beyond your current comprehension," Ilara finished for him. "Yes, but not beyond ours. The cosmos engines you've observed are merely the first step. We have plans for harvesting the rotational energy of black holes, for tapping into the quantum foam of spacetime itself." General Vrock, his military mind struggling to find a threat to focus on, interjected. "And what of the Confederation? What role do you see for us in this great work of yours?" Ilara's expression softened. "That, General, is entirely up to you. We invite the Confederation to join us as full partners in this endeavor. Your diversity, your unique perspectives, your myriad cultures, all of these are invaluable. We have the tools, but we welcome your input on how best to use them." "And if we refuse?" Xylix asked, voicing the question that hung unspoken in the air. For the first time, a flicker of sadness crossed Ilara's face. "Then you would be choosing stagnation and, ultimately, extinction. We will not force our vision upon you, but neither will we allow anyone to impede the great work. The stakes are too high." The negotiations stretched on for what felt like weeks, though time seemed to flow strangely in the multidimensional chamber. Every aspect of the new cosmic order was discussed, debated, and finally agreed upon. The Galactic Confederation would not be dissolved, but transformed. It would become a partner to humanity in the great work, with each member species bringing its unique strengths to bear. Humanity would share its technology gradually, allowing the other species time to adapt and grow. In return, the Confederation would help guide the social and cultural aspects of the cosmic transformation. For while humanity had mastered the physical universe, they recognized their need for the wisdom and diversity of the galactic community. As the final agreements were being drawn up, Xylix found himself in a private conversation with Ilara. The human, if she could still be called that, regarded him with a mixture of warmth and something else, something vast and unknowable. "You've been the linchpin of all this, Xylix," she said softly. Your wisdom, your caution, your ability to bridge the gap between our civilizations. We owe you a great debt. Xylix's exoskeleton flushed with embarrassment. I merely did my duty, he stammered. Ilara smiled. And in doing so, you've helped shape the future of multiple galaxies. She paused, seeming to consider something. We have an offer for you, Xylix. A chance to be part of something more. She extended her hand, and in it swirled a miniature galaxy of glowing particles. This is a neural interface, far beyond anything your people have developed. It would allow you to join the human collective consciousness, to experience the universe as we do. Xylix stared at the swirling motes, his mind reeling. I don't know what to say, he managed. Ilara's eyes twinkled. You don't have to decide now. The offer will remain open. For now, there is much work to be done. And indeed there was. As news of the agreement spread throughout the Confederation, reactions ranged from jubilation to terror. Some worlds embraced the new order eagerly, throwing themselves into the work of cosmic engineering with gusto. Others were more cautious, carefully testing each new piece of human technology before adopting it. There were, inevitably, those who resisted. A coalition of isolationist worlds attempted to form a blockade, hoping to stem the tide of change. They were given a single demonstration of a cosmos engine's power, the instantaneous teleportation of their entire fleet to the other side of the galaxy, before they quietly stood down. As the years passed, the changes became more and more apparent. Barren worlds burst into life. Dyson swarms bloomed around stars like mechanical flowers. The first intergalactic wormholes stabilized, allowing travel between the Milky Way and Andromeda in mere moments. Xylix watched it all unfold with a mixture of awe and trepidation. He had become something of a cultural ambassador, helping species across the Confederation adapt to their new reality. And always, in the back of his mind, was Ilara's offer. It was a century after the initial contact when Xylix finally made his decision. Standing on the observation deck of a vast Ark ship, watching as it prepared to embark on a journey to a distant galaxy, he felt the weight of history on his shoulders. Ilara appeared beside him, as timeless as ever. It's beautiful, isn't it? She said, gazing out at the cosmic engineering project unfolding before them. Xylix nodded. It's terrifying, he admitted. But yes, beautiful too. He turned to face her. I'm ready, he said simply. Ilara smiled, and once again the galaxy swirled in her palm. Welcome, she said, to the next stage of evolution. As the neural interface merged with his consciousness, Xylix felt his awareness expand. He saw the intricate web of life and energy that connected all things. He felt the pulse of distant stars and the quantum dance of subatomic particles. He understood, at last, the true scope of the great work. And as his individual consciousness merged with the vast, collective mind of humanity and its allies, Xylix realized that this was not an ending, but a beginning. The dawn of a new era, not just for the galaxy, but for the very concept of life and intelligence itself. The cosmic dance continued, and now, at long last, its participants were learning to lead.